I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, July the 26th, brought to you in part by Performance Livestock Analytics. Manage your feedlot operation anytime, anywhere with Performance Beef. For more information, go to performancelivestockanalytics.com. What report? What board? It seems like the trade that happened on Monday, both in your futures market and the cash market, didn't really respond like it typically would. We had that inventory report, which should have been bullish. It said that our total numbers are down 2%. Said that our beef replacements were down 3%. Our calves under 500 pounds were down 3%. Now, yes, I argued that it should be a lot more than that, for sure. But still, it should have been a bullish report. We didn't see the board really react that way. Of course, live cattle were up just a smidge there, but not really enough to make a difference. Feeder cattle were down hard because grains were back up, which is what they typically do. But, and then the way that the cash market was responding both late last week and this week really didn't seem to care what the board did. We saw on Friday, we saw your Iowa cattle feeders sell another 5,000 head to packers, not just on Friday, but after 2 o'clock on Friday, because it wasn't picked up through mandatory price reporting, so it had to have been after 2 o'clock, either that or the packers were just lax putting the numbers in. But trading late afternoon on a Friday, in the summer when people are typically got things to do on the weekends, and 5,000 head, that's pretty significant, because that's not like in the Southern Plains where you just hit 1 or 2 feedlots. You would have had to have hit several to do that. But they had not traded a lot of cattle in Iowa. Your Iowa cattle feeders were dug in. They wanted 145, and they got 145 on Friday afternoon late. And you think, well, shoot, the board says you're only supposed to be getting about 137, 7.5 for those cattle. What the heck you doing asking for 145? They want 145. They negotiate on those cattle, and they've got leverage to get it. You see how they dug their heels in, didn't trade hardly anything all week, and then your packers came running late on Friday afternoon, but they still sold only 18,700 head for the week, which is a lot lighter than what typically sells in Iowa, but they were still trying to do that. In Oklahoma City on Monday, your prices were quite a bit higher, a bunch higher on feeder cattle, and steer calves were a bunch higher too. And you think, well, what really supports that? And Oklahoma National Stockyards usually enjoys a lot of support from your corporate feeders in the Southern Plains. Who else is going to be down there? But of course, live cattle were up 30-some cents, but that's not enough to give $8 more for feeder cattle than you gave last week. And our corn was up, so these feedlots got to be thinking about getting their corn needs filled. A lot of them probably already have. Probably a lot of them wish they'd have waited till it got cheaper. Many of them are going to wait until harvest starts, because harvest pressure usually brings your corn prices down quite a bit. But you never know. That's a big gamble right now, because we could run into a spot where we don't see any moisture like we have here the last couple of weeks, and extreme heat. That would be bullish to corn. And then we don't know what we're going to get when we get in there to get some kind of check on what your harvest is going to be like. But we just didn't see a typical Monday following significant USDA reports, and so nothing really followed suit. Like I said, I don't know why we didn't see more of a rally in our live cattle report. Up 37 cents. That was about all it was up all day. That doesn't really think that your traders in Chicago took a lot of stock in that report. Maybe they were like me and they thought it should have been a whole lot lighter than what it showed. But about the only thing the board paid attention to was the Ukraine and Russia deal on the grain, and they signed a pact and said they were going to let them ship the grain, and then immediately after that started bombing the port where they were going to ship that from. So that's what caused your grains to be higher. I mentioned that it would probably do that on our last visit, and then that forced feeder cattle sharply lower. But let's talk about your board. August live cattle futures up 37 cents, was all at 137.75. October live cattle up 35 cents at 143.35. Your back months were down 30 to up 45. And let's not forget, we had a bearish cattle on feed report. Not real bearish, but the placement number was bearish, and it caused your inventory number to be a little bit bearish. But you know, we really couldn't see that made a difference in your futures market on Monday either. August feeder cattle down 2 1/4 at 179.30. September was down $1.80 at 182.67. Back months on feeder cattle down hard, but consistently hard, from 155 to 175 lower. And we are starting to come together a little bit with August feeder cattle getting closer to what our index levels show in the low 170s. But you know, we're going to see if your feeder cattle is happy with having a big disparity between cash and the spot price here. We're getting awfully close to getting into the spot month of August, but it has cash settlement. So it will come together. I promise you, it will come together within 50 cents or so, 100. And you think the live cattle doesn't come together anymore with what our weighted average is in the 5-area feeding region, because it's running lower than what that is, and there's no way to get it back up there. Now, if your spot live cattle futures were higher than what your weighted average on cash fats were, you could work that thing lower through delivery, but no way to get it up there because they cannot demand delivery on there, and likely your packers don't have long positions to do that anyway, because that would support the market, and they'll never do that. Let's talk about our grains. Corn was up 19.5 cents a bushel at 5.83 3/4 for new crop December. Bean, November new crop up 30 1/4 cent at 13.46. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for September up 19.5 at 8.39 3/4. But I did look at some of your Kansas elevator bids, all still under $8, even though your Kansas City September contract was 8.39 3/4 and up quite a bit. But that's the way that goes. Talk about your weighted average on last week's negotiated fed cattle trade out of your 5-area feeding region. 58,400 head was all. Very, very disappointing. We'd like to get that up around 100,000, but 58,400 compared to 74,700 last week, and only 65,300 head for the same week a year ago. Let's talk about your cash prices last week on live steers and heifers. Ranged from 133.5 to 146.5. It was mostly 136 in the southern plains, and mostly 145 in Iowa, a little bit off of that in Nebraska and the northern plains, but only 114 head sold at 133.50, so we shouldn't stare at the bottom end of that range, and only 368 head sold at the 146.5, so we shouldn't look at that either. But that price spread was $2.50 lower than a week ago. Weighted average on live steers ended up being quite a bit better than what it was on our last visit. I told you after Thursday's trade, because we had all that 145 in Iowa, but it ended up being 141.12, down a smooth dollar, down $1. Dress sales, the price spread was actually steady from 224 to 232, but they traded lower within that price spread, with a weighted average on dress steers in the 5 area at 227.59. That was down $1.89. Nationwide negotiated sales, pure negotiated sales, only 69,000. 35% of those, or 24,000 of them, were for the 15 to 30 day delivery. Your packers are setting things up. They're used to killing the market in the dog days of summer in August, and we saw that might change up a little bit. It looks like they're setting things up so they can beat the market back some in August, and then and it'll probably get quite a bit better as soon as we get into the fall. But negotiated grid, 42,500 head, pretty good movement there. Forward contracting only 21,200, and formula sales 287,100 head. Box beef cutout values were higher on Monday afternoon. Choice cuts up 99 cents at 268.11. Selects up $2.50 at 245 even. Talk about what else is going on. Beaver County Stockyards in Beaver, Oklahoma, there on the east end of no man's land in the Oklahoma Panhandle. They got a good sale here today on Tuesday. 3,500 head. Going to have 25 green yearling feeder loads there, thin and green, and drouthed out yearlings. That's what they've got there, guys, and they're going to have 25 pot loads of them. Got some others and selling some smaller drafts, but that's a pretty good offering there in the Oklahoma Panhandle. 2 of those loads are going to weigh around 1,100 pounds, so they're well started for you. And then 2 of those loads are going to, 2 other loads are going to be IMI Global certified all natural heifers. So if you guys are interested in that, he said they are really good quality and they are thin and green and just running gears, guys, ready to go to work for you. Check out Beaver County Stockyards on dvauction.com here today on Tuesday. Talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV Auction late today on Monday, sitting at 171.44. That's up $1.65. And I told you, Oklahoma City was higher, Joplin was higher, all your sales were higher, and we felt like we'd kind of hit a little bit of lull, and maybe guys were thinking that these feeder cattle are way too high for what they can expect to get for those same cattle fat and what it's going to cost to get them there. But they took after them again, guys. Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City at 7,100 head. Feeder steers $4 to $8 higher. Feeder heifers $2 to $6 higher. Steer calves $8 to $10 higher, and heifer calves steady to $4 higher. Joplin Regional Stockyards had 6,200 head. And your trend was a little bit mixed up there, because you remember a week ago they had that yearling feeder special there. They didn't have quite as many loads and attractive loads this week as they did last week, but the feeder steers weighing over 700 pounds were steady, and your feeder heifers all weights were $4 to $7 higher. Steer calves $2 to $6 higher. Let's talk about some of your other sales that went on Monday. I was telling you guys about the Montgomery, Alabama Stockyards board sale that they now have on dvauction.com whenever they have them. They had that at noon Central on Monday. They had many loads on there and even had some calves on there, but it was one of their really good board sales. I talked to Wesley there, one of the main guys. He said it was very active over the internet. It takes a while to get that going. We've just been kind of doing it this summer, but they had several DV auction bidders on there, and they had a really good market. And these are loads of yearling steers at the Montgomery Stockyards board sale, Montgomery, Alabama. Be all local cattle with current delivery. Had 5 loads of steers, weighed 7 to 775 for immediate delivery, from 170 to 175 and a quarter. 7 loads of 8-weight steers weighing from 8 to 850. Bring from 166 to 169.75 in Alabama, guys. And 8 loads of 900-pound steers with a base weight of 900 pounds, sold from 162 to 162.75. How about some individual quotes around some of our other sales? How about Tina livestock sales in Tina, Missouri? That's rural Missouri, kind of west central Missouri there. My good buddy Dwayne Penny that used to be at St. Joe Stockyards, he's got his customers going over there. He's commissioning into that barn. Had one of his good customers, Adam Iberger from King City, Missouri. King City was our nemesis when I lived in Maysville, Missouri for many, many years, and we always had a tough match with King City, whether it be girls t-ball or basketball or high school football or whatever it was, and they were always hard to beat because they cheated. But Tina Livestock, Adam Iberger steers, 56 head, weighed 861 at 176 and a quarter. How How about Sioux Falls Regional Livestock in Sioux Falls, South Dakota? 2,900 head there. And they called the feeder steers weighing over 1,000 pounds from $9 to $15 higher. And I'm going to tell you why here in just a second, but that's where they had the best test. Feeder heifers weighing over 800 pounds from steady to $5 higher. But the stick out deal in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, or Worthing, South Dakota actually, was 218 head of 1,004-pound steers at Sioux Falls Regional Livestock at $172.50. But that's not the top quote for the day, people. Your Zoetta stick-out sale of the day is Elgin Livestock Sales in Elgin, Nebraska, not far off the Brick Road, but on the east side of the state. They included a lot of yearlings on there. They had green grass yearlings, which you don't typically get in eastern Nebraska this time of year. They had the king cattle there with about 700 head, but excellent sale. Elgin Livestock, and I want to congratulate my buddy Ted Baum and the whole crew there. But listen to this National Beef Wire top quote for the day out of Elgin, Nebraska. It was the Reisman Black Baldy steers, 80 head of them, weighed 954 pounds at 183 1/4. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.